One of the most powerful tools on our platform is the Portfolio Assistant. When you're on the home page, you can easily see the Portfolio Assistant is located just under your name and the question, what would you like to do today? Click through to the Portfolio Assistant and you'll be brought to our risk assessment questionnaire. It's 13 questions. If you haven't had the opportunity to answer them yet, please do this now because it's critical for the Portfolio Assistant to work. Once you've answered those questions and you know your risk level, head over to the Portfolio Assistant by clicking Portfolio Assistant tab, and you'll notice that you come to a page that for you probably is blank. The first step then is to add, if you have any cash available to invest, you would simply click the add button and you would add whatever dollar amount is available for you to start investing. It will take that total, combine it with your stock value. If you have any stocks in your portfolio, they'll show here in the appropriate categories. Now, if you're new to the Portfolio Assistant, you may not see any stocks in there. However, you will see a prompt to add stocks to your portfolio. I'll talk about that in a moment. So once you're here and you have stocks inputted into your portfolio and you have cost basis information, it will then, based on your risk tolerance, it will make recommendations for you. So in this particular portfolio, it says here, for a well-rounded portfolio, consider these steps. It's asking me to increase cash by a certain amount. It's asking me to increase growth, the growth sector of stocks by a certain amount. And the amounts come from the other categories, the Excel category and the base category. Now, these are categories that are already in the background, working in the background to assist you to build a well-rounded portfolio. So currently, it shows the percentage that I have in each category and what the recommended percentage is. So it makes sense. My base is a little bit too high. My growth is too low. My cash is too high, which brings to the next steps. So if you're wondering, how do you get to those steps? How do you decrease your base? We will show you that in one moment. Before I do, we've graphically showed you your portfolio value. We're showing you what you initially invested. That's based on the information you gave the system, your cost basis information, and then how much your portfolio has grown to what's called the current market value. This is as of this very moment in time. We then go over to the portfolio positions, and you can see that currently in the base, the orange category, you have approximately 247, or this demo user has approximately $247,000 in the base. Our recommendation is the yellow, bring that down to 175,000 and so on and so forth with the other categories. So you can simply figure out you want to decrease the categories first before you increase. Makes sense, right? So you would decrease, you would click the Excel, and it will show you all of the companies that you have in that category. It shows the ticker symbol, the North Star, how many shares, the amount you invested, and the current value. And then it will show up here to adjust these holdings. You don't have to figure this out on your own. We're going to help you figure out what to sell and what to reduce. So the recommendation here is to sell all of the Shopify shares. Secondly, to sell 25 shares, just a few shares of the JP Morgan Equity Premium Exchange Traded Fund. and to keep all of the Bright Spire capital. How do we come about that information? We look at our ranking for each stock, and the highest stock, which is Bright Spire, 5 stars, obviously you keep that in your portfolio. You don't have to reduce it. So you just go through and look at what our recommendations are. If you want to go to the next category, go back to the home, and then we're looking at the base. We want to decrease the base. How do we get there? Well, Microsoft, it shows here, this portfolio has 551 shares. Our recommendation is to reduce that by 172 shares and keep all of the General Mills that are in this portfolio. It doesn't get much easier than that, does it? We're going to guide you through each step of the way to build a well-rounded portfolio. So that's the reduction, what we want or are recommending for you to reduce or decrease. Now let's talk about the increase category. As you can see, the growth says increase that by 84,000. Okay, how do we do that? Well, we click through and we click the adjust holdings pyramid average risk, and it's going to bring you a stock that is based on your level of risk that you can take and a high recommended stock for you, 5-star rated stock. So what you would do is you would click portfolio and go back to the main page, the main menu, click your stocks, click portfolio, and we're going to add that stock to the portfolio. So we'll go, I didn't recall the ticker symbol. Let me hold that, get the ticker symbol again. Increased growth, average risk, NCSM. Okay, NCSM. So that's what I'm looking for in the portfolio part. So I go back to portfolio, I scroll down, and when I see NCSM, I'm going to click cost basis and stock alerts. We're going to add a cost basis. Now, I believe that the recommendation was 70,000. Is that right? 70 to bring that through. So we don't want to put all of that money into one stock, although only one stock showed up for us today, but that's okay. Each day, depending on the market and what stocks are doing, which sectors are doing, let's say conservatively, we're going to add 20,000 or 1,000 shares into this stock. So I'm going to look at 1,000 shares. The price is currently $23.13, and I'm going to click save. And then as you can see, it pops up today's date, the number of shares, the price per share, and then it's going to show us the current value. So we go back to the Portfolio Assistant from the main tab, click through to the Portfolio Assistant, and now you notice it looks slightly different, right? We increased the growth category, and let's see if that is going to show up. Sure does. NCSM, our 1,000 shares, shows up for us at an investment of 23,000. So this is how you work with this incredible tool that we have. And I also want to point out, if you noticed on the decrease, the base, we have to go into the portfolio and sell those Microsoft shares. So what you do is you go back to the main menu, your stocks, portfolio, and we're going to reduce Microsoft by 144 shares. So let's find those shares that we want to sell, and let's go with, let's go out of the most recent purchase, the 250, we're going to edit this, and 250 minus 144 gets us 106 shares. So we have 106 shares remaining. We are selling at the current market price. Now notice it's already updated. We go back to Portfolio Assistant, and we look at the different categories now. So we are still in the base. We're still looking at, oh, it wants us to reduce even more, 72 more shares. Okay, that's fine. The values are going to change slightly because remember, we already purchased the additional stock. So these are going to change slightly, but that's all right. So let's go back to our stocks, back to portfolio, back to Microsoft, and we are going to reduce that number by 72 shares. So we're going to have a balance of 34 left from when we purchased it the most recent time. This would be called last in, first out, LIFO, right? Last in, first out. As an investor, it could be very helpful for you come accounting time, tax time, because we didn't look at the shares that we paid $245 for, right? We're looking at the ones that were the most recent purchased, and we are liquidating those. So I hope that's a helpful tip for you. So we go back to Portfolio Assistant and look at what the recommendations are left. It looks like it still wants us to decrease the Excel portion by 40,000. So you kind of are getting the idea, right? You reduce from your portfolio section and increase in the portfolio section as well. And I hope that this gives you a good overview on how to use this tool to your maximum ability. If you have any questions, of course, always please ask in the stock forum. Post your question here. I'm in this forum weekly, like regularly, and I'm happy to answer your questions for you. Thanks again for your support.